Hi everyone, how's everybody doing? So recently I just felt a little sponginess in my brakes and I just thought, okay, this would be the right time for me to change the brake oil, or maybe I just have to service the brake. The sponginess was in the rear brakes. So in this video I'm just going to show how you can bleed the old brake fluid from your bike and pour in some new fresh oil. So hi everyone. Okay, so for bleeding the brakes, the tools that are required is going to be a container in which you can, spill the dirty brake fluid. And as you can see that since I've already, bleeded my brakes before, this is the condition of the oil after 7,000 kilometers. Man, it's dirty. Then the second thing is a new fresh oil. Okay, so make sure that guys you're using the same grade which is mentioned on the cap. And in my case, my bike uses a .4 oil. Okay, some toilet paper or tissues would be fine because these are lifesavers when you spill brake oil. And please guys note that brake oil is actually very highly corrosive. It damages the paint. I've gone through that. I've fucked up my paints a couple of times before on my old bikes. So this time I'm not going to make that mistake again. Then 8mm spanner. Okay, in case if you have a round shaped one, that is even much better, but since I'm quite experienced to this thing would work for me. But in case people who are new to this, then they can go for the round shaped one, as once you try to unscrew the bleeding nipple, this round shaped spanner won't fall off. Okay, then you need to have a pipe to bleed out the old dirty brake oil. Nice, or I would say a bit dirty used rag, and a couple of zip ties. The zip ties are really very helpful in during the brake bleeding process. These guys are used in almost everything once you service the bike. So let's start with the bleeding process now. And one more thing that I forgot to tell you guys is the Allen key to remove the reservoir tank of the rear brake. Now, unfortunately, I think the labeling, the size of the Allens is smudged out. So I just know the size which I use, but in your Allen key set, the general key set which is available anywhere, you can take this one. I'll just show this quite close to you. Okay, so this is the Allen key which I use. I think you might also have it in your bike's toolkit, which is available over here. So that's about it guys. Now let's start with the bleeding process. Okay, so now what I've done is that okay, just a moment guys, I'll have to fix this up. Okay, so now you can see that there is one zip tie that I've looped around the bottleneck, and I'm gonna pass through another zip tie, the one which is tied up here. So you can see this very clearly. Then I'm going to again close this loop, and then I'll just show you how exactly I'm going to mount this. Okay, just a second guys. Okay, so here, okay, so I'm just going to use the brake clips here. Guys, be very careful, don't spill out anything, any oil on the brakes or even on the calipers. So what I've done is that I have now by using I will be using this hook. Okay, so I will be using this another zip tie and tie it off on the okay, clearly see this. Okay, great. So now I'm really sorry guys, I don't have nothing to hold the camera, that's why it's shaking a lot. but still I'll just try to keep it intact. Okay, so guys, can you see this? So I'm just gonna tie this up. Okay, so it's tied up perfectly. Now the bottle sits on the zip ties and on the brake caliper, so that I can easily, you know, use the pipe and submerge it into the now I'm gonna open the okay, so now I'm gonna open this bleeder nipple cover, and the best is I can just simply remove this. Okay, now once it is done, okay, okay, now you can see that the bleeder nipple is open and here is the tank. I'm just gonna take the small pipe and I'm just gonna put it over here on the bleeder screw here. Okay, and then I'm just simply gonna take this pipe and put it inside the tank. So since the tank is too close, the pipe sits around with the old you know, the bottle. So guys, nothing to be freaking out because it's taking the support of the neck. In case if you are quite scared that it might just pop out due to the pressure, then you can think of having a little longer pipe. In my case it worked, so I'm just using this pipe. Then what you can do is you can take a couple of you know, paper towels or tissues or even the toilet paper, and just I'm going to keep it, I'm just going to surround the pipe. Okay, so to make sure that by any chance if any oil is spilled, then the paper towel can just, you know, soak it up immediately before even it touches the paint, because it's a matter of couple of seconds when, you know, it damages the paint. So I think this is absolutely fine. Okay, we are doing this mess because to avoid any sort of mess in future. Now coming to the brake reservoir. So this is the brake reservoir. I'm just going to, you know, so apparently the I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but okay, so it's topped up till max since I've already changed the fluid. So what you can do is you can take this key, you need to just open it up, then remove the reservoir cap, but make sure that you have just loosened it, but don't take out the cap entirely, and then start the bleeding process. Now the bleeding process is very easy, but you need to take care of some things. First of all, I'm just going to, you know, keep the 8mm spanner on here on the bleeding screw. And now before I loosen this bleeding nipple, I will make sure that I'm creating some pressure over here, and after creating the pressure I have to make sure that the brake lever is pressed and it's not in the resting position, because you don't want to loosen the bleeding nipple unless the lever is pressed, because what will happen is instead the air will be sucked inside the system and then it's going to be an entire mess. Then you will have to repeat this, you know, have to bleed the brakes for quite a lot of long time, and, you know, pump out the air. So we will press the brakes, we will you know, basically pump up the brakes and then press it, and from your left hand you can just simply loosen this bleeding valve and let the old oil, you know, come outside. So once you loosen it up, the brake levers will go down, and keep, you know, don't just leave the brake levers, you know, keep pushing it down, and then tighten up the brake valve. Then you can leave the brake lever. Then again, pump it up again a couple of times, pump it up again, keep it pressed down, then again loosen the brake valve, then tighten it. You could see that the oil is coming down. Make sure that there aren't any air bubbles in it. Okay, so then tighten up the valve again and then release the brake lever. This is the entire process, and during this process you need to make sure that you are not running the brake system dry in the reservoir tank. So you just make sure that you keep filling up the oil. And again, so this thing is mounted on this nut, so once you open this, the brake tank would just fall off because of the pressure created by the pipe. So again, these zip ties are very handy. You can basically tie the tank using a zip tie on any of these. I used a bigger zip tie to tie it on this rod, and then I could easily top in the new brake oil, and then I completed the entire bleeding process. So again, once the bleeding valve is tight, I would make some pressure and keep the lever pressed, and from the left, using the left hand, I would open this bleeding valve, then close it, and I'll keep a check on the old brake fluid. Once I could see that the oil is coming fresh from the entire system instead of the black and the dirty oil, means that the brake has been entirely flushed out, and now you're good to go. Then what I would do is, again, I would just pump up the brakes. I will slightly open up the bleeding valve slightly to ensure in case if there is any bubbles left, and tighten up the bleeding valve, and I think my job here is done. Then I would close make sure that I have filled up the oil. Try not to fill up the brake oil on the max line. It should be just below the max, and so that you have some space left for the I would say the rubber cover inside, and then basically the rubber seal. Then there is a silicone cap, and then your main reservoir cap. And after that, I think your job is done. You're good to go. Then, in case if there is any extra oil that drips out, you can just clean it up immediately using these paper towels, and maybe you can use an old rag. And guys, make sure that whenever you're opening the this reservoir tank, make sure that the cap is clean. And once you take out the condiments inside, like the nylon cover or the silicone, the nylon cover or the rubber cover, please clean it off using a clean rag, and then put it back. So you can just take out the pipe, and then you can put back the okay, so you can just simply put back the nipple cover, and you can just easily take out the this your carry bottle. So you can see the dirt. This is something that you don't want your brake system to have. Guys, be rest assured that this is how you bleed the braking system with ABS system on it. Okay, so nothing has to, nothing is concerning here, because it's a normal procedure as you do for the non-ABS bikes. Okay, so you can follow this procedure. Try, after bleeding the brakes, try tying up the brake lever using zip ties from your exhaust, and put some pressure on the brakes, so that in case any air bubble is left over in the system, what will happen is that after this brake lever is pressed for a couple of hours, maybe then once you again bleed the nipple, you can just slightly open the nipple and let a drop of oil come out. Maybe it could, in case if any air is left inside the system, can also be flushed out. Then your system is going to be absolutely air free, and your brakes are just going to work absolutely fine. You might feel good difference. And in case if you still feel that there is sponginess, then you may have to repeat the entire bleeding process again. This means that there is some air bubbles left over, and you need to flush out more oil from your system. Hi guys, so I hope you like the video. And okay, so the brake bleeding process is very simple. It's that you just have to pump up the lever a couple of times, press the lever, open the bleeding valve, close it, then release the lever. That's it. Okay? And you guys have to make sure that in no circumstances you have to open the bleeding valve before pressing the lever, because once the air goes in, you are entirely gonna mess up the system. The brakes might fail. The air which enters causes problems in braking, and it is difficult to flush out that air from the system. So then what you have to do is, then you have to again refill the brake oil reservoir tank. Have to go through the entire flushing procedure again, and it's going to take a couple of rounds for you to entirely flush out the air. So guys, just let me know if you want me to work on any specific part of the bike. I am just gonna make videos, which when my bike, anything of my part of the bike gives me issues. So I'll keep making videos on that. I also recently changed engine oil on my bike. I'm just gonna make a small vlog on that as well. I just don't want to mix things up. And soon I will also show you what all tools you need to keep if you guys are on a regular basis, maintaining your bike, you're servicing your bike, at home, like do it yourself. So thank you so much. And at the end, I would say that be safe, ride safe, and take care. Bye.